fighting, constant brawl style that they like.
Well, we'll see if Snake are changing anything up today, but we are into the draft now. Maokai, Sivir, the first two bans there for Snake. And of course, Ryze is immediately banned away, followed by Kalista.
No surprise, the Ryze. Keep in mind, we are in the new patch, and the new Ryze is a lot stronger than it already was, which was almost ban-worthy. So taking that away, it's going to be another common ban.
Yep.
In saying that, it now leaves open so many strong top laners, junglers, mid laners, and supports that the targeted bans just have to be done.
I think jungle and support especially, that pool's really been opened up because those bans that you had before you just don't get anymore. Victor, another ban, has started to creep back into play, given that he's, I guess, been undisabled and is now allowed to be played again. And he's a very popular pick and ban here in the LPL. QG, though, going to consider their last. And like you've said many times, there's just too many champions, but they take away Flandre's Fizz.
So they get rid of the Fizz. That leaves open if they want the Hecarim. There it is. In response, most likely the Gragas and the Alistar. Do you want me to just do the draft phase?
I mean, yeah, keep going. I love this here, but Flandre taking away the Hecarim makes plenty of sense. We talked about V's Hecarim already. He hasn't lost on it. Probably means you shouldn't give it to him.
Definitely do not want him having that Hecarim, so smartly getting rid of that. And you can see straight away the response is get that Alistar because it is the priority for the support lane. And they've opted for a mid laner here to get rid of LeBlanc from you. We've seen Doinbe's LeBlanc. It is phenomenally strong. So it's a counter pick in a way. It's to take it away, but still a strong champion.
Yeah, a nice blocker pick there from QG as Ali LeBlanc are their first two picks. Very solid stuff, but very standard here as well. So nothing too surprising happening at this early stage of the draft. Snake, though, can do basically whatever they want with their picks as far as completing this comp. Hecarim fits into a lot. It also does give Flandre the ability
Nautilus,
to scale up more and hyper carry. We've seen a lot of Nautilus Thresh and Alistar. We've seen a lot of Gragas and Rek'Sai there as well. Swift's going to get one of the two junglers that he really likes, but Beast apparently going to put priority in the Gragas as they take away the Thresh as well.
Yeah, and that does leave open the Rek'Sai or perhaps the Sejuani, depending on Swift, what he wants to do. And we don't really want to just predict that just yet. He's kind of unpredictable. We'll play whatever the team wants. Maybe even opt for that Sejuani just because they've got the single target mid laner and they want more AoE.
I keep forgetting about his Sejuani actually, and it's so good.
It's too good. Like, it is too good. That is the description of it. Is they're looking to hover perhaps the top laner here. They've already got the Hecarim, and Nah is good into the Hecarim. The only other options are more so the Rumble and the Aurelia as the pocket pick, so I would be surprised if it wasn't Nah, and in saying that, maybe the AD carry or the jungler next.
Yeah, B's a big Aurelia player, so that would be a fine pick there as well, but QG going to keep it very safe and simple here for their first draft. It is now Rek'Sai again. Like you said, you can kind of just go through this draft and figure out what's going on.
For the most part, definitely, and as they do hover their last mid laner. In saying standard mids, this is not a surprise either.
Nope.
It's most likely that or the Cassiopeia, both readily available, but I would say Azir a bit better into the LeBlanc as a solo matchup. That's an interesting decision, though, if they go for that one.
Yeah, it is. I mean, they actually don't have an AD carry on the side of QG, so TNT holding onto the counter pick in some ways there. I think
That's
LeBlanc being a blind pick is sort of curious, just because with such strong laners like Azir, Cassiopeia open, clearly Doinby feels comfortable in whatever matchup he was giving over to you. But I think I agree with you. He hovered it. He's going to lock it in. Crystal's back to Draven.
Yeah, the LeBlanc was, for the most part, the blocker pick, taking it away from you because he has had ridiculous LeBlanc games and performances. So it does leave open the Azir as an option in response here, and Crystal actually picking up that Draven, going to round out their team comp now, and if they were missing damage, they are not anymore.
No, Crystal's always one to make sure he ramps up the damage, and even you're right, it's going to add into that late game here as well. We don't have Beast Nunu making an appearance, unfortunately. It's been a little while since we've seen it. Wanted a bit more pressure from the Gragas, but I love their comp as TNT going to lock in the Tristana.
That might be saying to me they're looking to get a lane swap and have the split push style Tristana yet again, which is quite a common decision from most of the AD carries at the moment. Is Tristana, for the most part, is a pick into the Sivir, just so you can match the amount of split pushing or siege potential that you actually have. It scales very well as well. It starts to outscale that Sivir, but against the Draven, it's a pretty hard lane to just sit there and take damage from.
Yeah, you don't. I mean, Crystal's picked Draven into Sivir countless times in his LPL career, and every time it's gone very well for him as a run through the matchups. Very standard to actually start our first game here, Flandre on his Hecarim, with V having the Nah counter pick.
Yeah, he's going to have that Nah pick, a soft counter, but still quite confident is the Hecarim in that matchup, as we have a look at yet another standard matchup here, Gragas and Rek'Sai.
And I think that might be the most important matchup here as well, because they've got all the early pressure that they can dictate if they want to. Talk about standard matchups, I think that's going to be the story for most of this year, as he's going to take Azir into Doinbe's LeBlanc.
Doinbe having that LeBlanc, though, a much more aggressive decision. We saw it from him yesterday, and we saw how he made it work on the back of Swift and the aggression is. Speaking of aggression.
Yep, Draven, Tristana, aggressive AD carries. I guess sort of what we expected as we rounded out with Thresh and Alistar.
Yeah, the only difference really is that Thresh pick, most commonly picked as the counter to the Sivir. Not going to be against that. It's going to be against the Trist.
Yeah, I mean, be interesting to see how Ella plays it. He's an excellent Thresh player, so I don't mind the pick for him at all. Tends to favor over the Nautilus, I've found.
Yeah, the Thresh it's on a per-person basis, I suppose. The Lantern's very good for enabling ganks, whereas the Nautilus is much better, English, at actually just throwing down the depth charge and just running at them so that your jungler, if he has enough mobility, can get in there. Gragas, with a Lantern in particular, is deadly.
Yeah, I'm excited to see, again, these junglers, they have so much on their backs as far as early pressure goes, so both Swift and Beast going to have to try and dictate early on.
Yeah, that's going to be very heavily on the back of these two junglers. They've got their early pressure junglers. They're both comfortable on those junglers. We'll see how they really want to impact this. We've got Beast, who's sort of doing it solo, whereas you've got Swift, who has his buddy that kind of follows him around in the background, and they're going to have a very similar impact on this game, but depending on how it actually plays out, maybe even the mid laners here waste too much time putting down the pressure, and it leaves enough time for you to get ahead.
Well, we'll have to see just how far they can get ahead in the other game as we are about to get onto the Rift. And welcome back into a pause, unfortunately, to start our first game of the day here. Snakey QG apparently couldn't contain all the hype. There was too much of it.
Too much hype.
Had to have a pause.
Need to pause to collect our thoughts and really assess what is even going on. Or it's a technical issue for all we know.
I would like to think it's a pause for hype here, as you can see Crystal looking pretty focused there on your screen. I mean, he's back on his Draven. It's nice to see him playing it. He's one of the few players in the LPL that actually consistently plays the champion and does well. But I think Snake's team comp as a whole I actually really like now, because Crystal, he's still playing the hyper carries. He's still playing the likes of Draven. But the team no longer has to build entirely around him to be successful.
Yeah, well, Draven's one of those unique champions where you want to kind of build around him, but there is no point in actually doing it, because the Draven just positions so aggressively to put down damage that if he's not self-sustaining with that Bloodthirster and that Overshield, then he's probably going to die irrespective. So they're able to put a lot of focus around Crystal, but it's more so just to nest him up so that he can do the damage, but not actually put resources into him.
Yeah, it's, I think, a long time since we're going back to the double Mikhail's days there for Crystal's Draven. I mean, to be fair, Snake's threats have just grown so much more with Flandre sort of stepping up a bit more and you entering the team. We don't need to be so all in on Crystal anymore. So the fact that Snake have diversified, at least as far as carry potential goes across their team, has helped their roster so much more. And that's evident in the way they've drafted this team comp.
And it alleviates a lot of pressure as well onto a particular carry. Crystal not having to do all of the heavy lifting now makes life a lot easier. Flandre stepping up as well, being that big carry role from the top lane, starting to have an impact and commanding that respect. Having three big threats here on the Snake side has made their roster a lot stronger overall.
It has, and it's just a matter of what else can they do with it. They've shown a lot of promise in spring, have started summer well, but if they're going to get through the end of this long split and then have an even better run through the playoffs in summer, it's going to take a lot of work here for Snake, who are still finding themselves a bit as a team, but have started off nicely as Beast. Looking very focused there on your screen, just sort of chilling out, being like, yep, I have to try and out jungle Swift.
They've started off nicely. They might even have started off better than they did in the spring split. If they can continue this momentum into a strong second and third of the LPL, we're about a third of the way through, then they're going to be an extremely strong force come playoffs time. And you're right, it is going to be a lot onto the back of these junglers.
Yeah, I mean, Swift here, we've seen how aggressive he is. His Rek'Sai play is just out of this world, to be perfectly honest. I agree with you, his Sejuani is great as well, but Swift is a player that favors that aggression a little bit more. I feel like, hilariously enough, when he feels like he has to carry his team, then he plays Sejuani.
Yeah, it's a weird way to think about it, because Sejuani not having that early pressure that the Rek'Sai or the Gragas can put down, but
his ultimates, they're just so good.
Exactly.
As we are onto the Rift here, Snake and QG going to kick things off for day 2 of week 4 of the LPL. And Crystal's actually looking for that lane swap, popping up with L to the top half of the map.
So we are 1 minute and 30 seconds into this game. A lot of the early wards are well and truly down, and they are very neutral. So Crystal and Ella looking to actually just put the lane swap into effect is what we can take from this. Not reacting to anything, but opting into it themselves.
I call it as a hard lane swap, where you're just like, yeah, I don't have any vision. Let's just hope this works.
Yeah.
It's a coin flip, right? You're just guessing. And look, if this is what Snake want, they are on the top side of the map. They've guessed right. TNT and TCT are going to start in the bottom side.
But it is interesting if they were trying to predict it or not is a question, because they're up against a Tristana and an Alistar, and their level 1 is not very good compared to that of a Thresh and a Draven. It does start to do a lot of damage with the explosive shot, and the level 2 is strong. But
yes,
you can kind of wreck them level 1.
I mean, Draven sort of wrecks everybody when you get into any sort of extended trade, but instead, Draven will actually maybe keep the wave or slow push it there on the top side and just catch some axes and get some early farm. Crystal is certainly used to being left alone in these situations, and it might even be unlocking supports that we want to look for here as TCT going deep into enemy territory looking for a jungle, but he already gets the info that there's no red buff yet.
Well and truly unlocked are these supports right now. Ella and TCT casually roaming around the area, doing as they please. As speaking of doing as they please, hello, red buff.
Oh, wow. They're actually going to try and steal this away. Snake watered it nice
buff.
and early here. So, yeah, this will be a 3 buff for Swift unless he can get over to the blue side quickly. And you can see he's down the bottom looking to hopefully catch someone coming to the lane. He's going to find some Krugs, but he'll go back home and be like, oh, where'd my jungle go?
I think they've already come to terms with the fact they're not getting a 3 buff start. They're getting 3 buffs, sorry, because they had TCT walk to the red buff, realized it wasn't there, whereas Ella did the same thing, placed the ward over the wall, found that the red buff was there. So Snake getting a small buff advantage. In saying that, it looks like the pushing advantage is going to be in favor of QG.
Yep, they're going to 4-man push this turret now, but not been bothering to proxy the wave, or I guess they sort of are by product anyway, as Crystal and Ella now forced to push out the same. You can see all of a sudden, we're going to turn on the fast push right away.
Oh, the axe juggling is just so awesome.
It is. I mean, Crystal's Draven is some of the best in the world.
It's just satisfying, regardless.
Yes.
He's not even fighting anyone, it's just minions, but it's satisfying to see him consistently catch everything.
That's one of the benefits of being a Draven player. You just like constant, instant satisfaction as TNT. Done significant damage to the tower with the help of his teammates. It's gone now, 4 minutes in. We're going to have an outer turret already dead.
Yeah, it's a very early turret, which is a rotation to the dragon 100% of the time, because you can see most of the members of Snake are going to be focusing on that top side of the map. So a smart rotation from the turret to the dragon. The important part here is where are they going to go after this dragon to continue impacting across the map.
Oh, good juggling of the aggro there as TCT gets low but will not fall down. It was a dangerous dragon to do at level 2, but QG are going to claim their first. They've about 4.5 minutes in.
Yeah, so a small global advantage in terms of gold alleviates a lot of pressure. Mid lane can even recall slightly earlier and have those items, but the trade does come out here, tower for tower. Does Crystal want to recall and go back to the bot lane and push? Because you can tell that QG are going to put their AD carrying support in the top lane.
Yep, TNT with a pickaxe walking straight to the top side of Swift. That's very awkward.
Nice.
Slain by the Gromp.
That's impressive.
That is impressive. We talked about the dangers of the Raptor camp earlier on in the split, but the Gromp getting it better of Swift. I mean, he was solo after all that jungling. That was a bit of an ambitious jungle path after the dragon.
Ambitious is one way to put what that was. That was a big mistake right there. I didn't actually know what he died to. It looked like he died to a leopard because of the Chinese animation of it, the picture.
Well, it was the Gromp, and unfortunately for Swift, the worst news is that he has no other jungle to really take here. His Raptor camp just respawns. He's going to go to his Krug, but he did get 3 buffed here, so the early level 1, at least jungle control, has been excellent by Snake.
Yeah, Snake having that 3 buff in a way is actually what the cause of him dying became, besides his own mistake, of course. So very smart play here from Snake. They trade the tower for the tower, and they started with 3 buffs, so it's an advantage to Snake at this point in time, unless Crystal wants to keep tanking the turret.
I mean, he takes a couple, but he'll be all right just for now. He's going to try and take out the turret instead. Draven, in his own weird way, actually pushes surprisingly hard for a champion without any AoE.
He has the AD steroid with the auto attacks. I don't know if that counts on turrets, but he has the attack speed bonus that he gets as well if he wants to hit one minion, catch the axe, and then hit the turrets. It's not directly impactful on his pushing potential, but it's definitely relevant.
Yeah, it's not quite Tristana, as you can see. QG going to get 2 towers down now in 6 minutes in, but Crystal and Ella, they're on a decent pace to be trying to match these towers here. Crystal might just get this one.
They're doing their best attempt at keeping up, and you can see the pickaxe coming out from TNT compared to the Vampiric Scepter is a factor in this pushing, especially not even taking into account how capable a Tristana is at pushing compared to the Draven. So they managed to make the trades here for the most part. It'll probably take another wave to get this turret down here on the side of Snake, as Crystal doing his best attempt at hard pushing. But you can see QG already well and truly ahead. They pushed away past the turret, made it reset. and now they're able to go wherever they like.
I think Crystal's going to get this turret, though, and that means that Snake will actually find themselves with a gold lead. So we'll even up the turrets by the looks of things. QG are up a dragon. That's important to remember as well. But I think Flandre is the big winner here, to be perfectly honest with you. In a big lane swap situation with a lot of fast pushing, when you don't have Smite as the top laner, you fall behind, and Flandre is 25 CS ahead already.
Yeah, that is actually a really big lead. That's
a ridiculous lead.
That's a whole lot. 500 gold is an exceptional amount given how little gold they both actually get this early in the game. That'll start to ramp up the Hecarim very quickly, and that lead is only growing at the moment as finally V finds himself in a solo lane.
Yeah, I mean, just as a difference, V is level 3 and Flandre is level 5 as far as their experience goes. So Flandre has found a lot of early advantages just from having that Smite as you. Felt a little bit of pressure. Swift slays the Scuttle Crab this time, a minion that can't actually fight back. And Doinby going to jump in, try and get some harass down, but a good dodge there from you.
Yeah, the fact that there was a 3-buff start, the fact that Swift also died to minions, there was a lot less time for V to actually spend time with his jungler going around getting levels, which helped Flandre out a lot because he could then sit in that lane by being level 4 and just let them push the turret down, at the very least cherry-picking CS where he could get it. It's very, very good here. The lead for Snake is not massive in terms of goal, but the difference between the top laners will start to impact everywhere, probably around the second dragon time.
Almost 1,000 gold up, and they might even just go gank V. Crystal's going to move in. Ella's going to line up a hook. Flash Flay finds in. Hook will land as well. Crystal stand aside as well, and V's got absolutely no health left. Flandre's even here, but first blood goes to Draven.
Cashing in those Draven stacks right now. Crystal in a very comfortable position. He had the pickaxe and the Vamp Scepter, probably getting close to enough for a BF sword once he gets this wave as well. The raw amount of money that he would have had juggling 2 axes this entire time from the start of the game, that's a scary position to be in.
It is, and as we do have a pause here in the game, we're going to take a little bit of time to look at what's happened in the first 8 or 9 minutes of this game. And it's funny, we came into this game saying that Snake, they do one thing and they do one thing well, and it's teamfight. And I'll hold myself to that. That is something they do exceptionally well, possibly better than any other team in the league, including the likes of EDG. What I think is we don't credit Snake often enough with is actually their level 1. They have exceptional preparation, and Flandre is such a flexible player that whatever Snake want to do as far as early movement goes, when they execute correctly, this is the sort of lead they can build themselves.
And it was them executing correctly as well. They put the lane swap into effect. They're now the people with a massive lead in the top lane in terms of CS. Even a death now going down onto the side of QG. Their top lane are having a very tough time here is V. And his Nari is going to take an exceptionally longer time to even start ramping up here. You have a look at Flandre, he's already doing work.
Yeah, and you know, that was the counter matchup, or the soft counter for V. They just decided to dodge the lane completely. Flandre with smites, freely able to get minions and jungle through there as well. Yeah. And all of a sudden, he's almost, I think he's level 6 actually now when he teleported to the bottom side. Wasn't needed, by the way. They got the kill without him. So he wasted the teleport a bit, but that's Flandre to a T. He'll always teleport in for a kill.
Get there for the experience. It's still worth it, I suppose. He didn't want to take the kill because it was a Draven. I've no doubt Crystal would have been screaming at the top of his lungs if that was taken away from him. Needs to cash in those Draven stacks, and now that he has done that, that's a lot of gold that's going to be in favor of Crystal against TNT as well. And that's going to start affecting everywhere because now Flandre is ahead of V. We've got Crystal who's cashed in against TNT. You and Doinby not really doing anything.
Yeah, I mean, they're farming. They're just having a fun old time in the mid lane.
Beast who's started to ramp up quite strong. But you've got Swift who's been struggling because the 3 buffs start against him.
And then the Gromp.
And the casual Gromp death just thrown in the fray there's putting him in a pretty rough position also.
Yeah, again, smart level 1 stuff here from Snake. And this was Beast's forte actually early on in Spring. His pathing and aggression and his ability to keep other junglers not even just like neutralized, but down like right into the ground. I remember he played Nunu into Jarvan in one of his first games of the split and just destroyed this poor Jarvan. And then the other team picked Nunu and he said, okay, I'll take the Jarvan, and did exact same thing. So this guy is at his best when he's able to get on top, get ahead of the enemy jungler and keep them down.
When he does it on his terms, when he can, even in the Nunu lane, or Nunu jungle, can actually keep control. If it's him doing the map movements and actually pushing the other jungler around and bullying them, he's in a very controlling position where he can utilize that lead and turn it into team fighting, which Snake do so exceptionally well. The question in this game at the moment, though, is Qiao are being forced further and further behind by smaller increments successively. They have to now turn this into accelerated item builds and start to team fight. but they're against the side of Snake who are so good at team fighting that it will become a big risk for them to do that.
I mean, that's the thing. Snake are so difficult to beat when they get ahead. It's just that they've never consistently gotten ahead in enough games here. And they honestly, they played like that. They were so good at team fighting that they managed to finish 2nd overall, I believe, for the regular split, and then 4th in the playoffs. Maybe without having their play be as refined as it looks right now in this particular game. So they've certainly leveled up a lot more. QG aren't out of the game by any stretch, but you're right. They're going to struggle here as Snake will continue to apply pressure.
Yeah, definitely not out of the game here, QG. Just starting to fall a bit behind. Their team copy is still very good for team fighting. If they can get to that stage and not be too far behind, then they're still in a good position. We've seen Xiaogu with some really impressive team fighting skills. It's just going to be difficult against this Snake roster. They are so very capable of putting team fights into effect very simply.
And we talked about the junglers kind of being the important people in this matchup, needing to sort of find pressure early. I think what Snake did was a really clever way of neutralizing as many of the potent threats on QG as possible, particularly Swift. He got 3 buffed and died to the Grom, and it feels like he just can't do anything else in this game. Swift is a jungler that loves to dictate to his enemy jungler in particular, but Beast also likes to do the same thing, and right now, Beast has won the early game.
And you can see on the back of that, Swift not being able to do much. We actually have Doinb not really doing anything either, because there's no strong jungler to piggyback off and find yourself with kills or assists. But at the moment, QG trying to do something.
I mean, they're going to look for Draven maybe in the bottom side, but Beast and Ella are both here as well. I like the dueling wards back and forth. There's actually a Draven ward down there, which I can only assume is crystals, which is Draven. Adorable. As Flandre will come down to the bottom side. He is level 6, so he does have his ultimate available. Now level 7, going to continue getting farmers. He's picked himself up a Barmy Cinder and some Ninja Tabe, as we see they have a couple issues today for the Chinese players with another pause.
Definitely having some issues here. Technical problems left, right, and center. But I guess something that we can touch on right now, as we did come back into that game very briefly, is the CS difference between the top laners completely reduced now. It's down to about 10 from what was about 35.
Yeah, which was, significant difference.
That's a lot.
So V's able to get a bit more CS. I think Flandre's dodged the tough part of that lane though, so possibly a win for Hecarim, depending on how much work Flandre can get done now that he's gotten a couple of items for himself. Will take him a while to get to that very scary 3-item look for the Hecarim, even 4-item if you want to include the jungle item.
Zoomed in.
That is.
It's super zoomed in.
Hey man.
How you doing?
They like you. He's a great guy. Very popular.
We all like you.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
You's great.
I like you too.
Yeah, you's great.
He is. I mean, and again, on the Azir, we've seen what plays he can make. Just keeping things nice and chill there in the mid lane. So, I mean, this is the style that you was, I would somewhat hilariously known for in 2014 when he played for EDG, actually. That was the team he was on. He's actually on their sub-roster before moving over to Snake. And Yu's always been a player that was just like, play wave clear, support Name, we'll get some team fights going, we'll just win in the late game. So I think Yu feels a little bit more freedom to play more of those assassins like the LeBlanc that we saw taken away from him here in this game. But if he's in a lane just comfortably farming, he is also super confident in his ability to team fight. And Snake, again, they are the team fighting team.
Yeah, and he has the team to back him up to get to that team fighting stage with just freely farming. And not to say that Doinb is in a bad position by any means. He's a big fan of farming himself. In fact, that's what he genuinely loves to do.
Yes.
Just wave clear and disappear. Whether he's even ganking or just sitting in a side bush, he's going to just wave clear and very content doing the exact same thing. But both mid laners actually extremely diverse in their champion pool and play styles. They've played passive, they've played support, they've played aggressive assassins. And it's very interesting to see the dynamic between them both. And they do both like team fighting. So it's on the back of the rest of the teams almost, the rest of the players, to see how they get to that stage.
Yeah, I think these mid laners just like to play kind of with their teams rather than have their teams play around them.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at a player like Rookie, maybe on IG, and in some games, not that many recently, but in some games, a player like Pon, and obviously a player like Faker from SK Telecom. These are the sort of mid laners you can look to and think, yeah, you're worth really bringing up. You've got insane hard carry potential, so let's give you a lot of resources, a lot of farm, and let you carry the game. You and Doinb, not as a criticism, are just more of a role-playing mid laners. They'll play a little bit more with their team and sort of let the other elements of their team carry them. I mean, when you've got 2 aggressive AD carries that can hard carry a game single-handedly, I'd probably support them as well.
Well, see, that's the thing, right? You have a team where your AD carry, as an example, might require the resources. In this case on Xiao, it's even more so the jungler than anyone else that requires the resources. So your mid laner's not sacrificial in that respect, but he just doesn't want to take the resources or the focus. He utilizes what he has to keep his jungler ahead, which translates them into a strong lead for team fights. Same with TNT. No one really puts anything into him besides TCT, who just sacrifices himself selflessly for his AD carry. The rest of them do their work separately, and the whole side of Xiao are very individual almost. There's no resources put too far into one basket. They can all individually carry the game if one of them gets ahead. You look at the side of Snake, and you might say that Yu is very similar in that respect to Doinb. Doesn't command a lot of the resources that someone like Rookie does, but Crystal might a little bit more because of the way that he plays on the Dravens and the Callistas. Is in their face aggressive and commands either support or to just be killed.
Yeah, for the longest time, Snake just poured so many resources into Crystal, so it's nice to see them giving, again, Flandre a little bit more room. Beast and Ella are still that utility duo. They remind me, I mean, they're a Korean duo, and they remind me a lot of strong Korean jungle support duos, probably most notably the likes of Dandy and Mata, where they really just want to bring their team up with good vision, strong aggressive play and team fighting, and just don't worry too much about getting all the fun. Whereas Swift on the other side, he's a much greedier jungler, much more like Qiao, where he will take resources because he knows he can hard carry a team.
Yeah, he actually gets the highest percentage of team gold as a jungle role in all of the LPL.
That's not surprising.
That's a whole lot of gold going into Swift right there, and he makes it worth it. We've seen some massive carries come out of that guy. And I mean, everyone on both sides here, they're very evenly matched almost, which is a very interesting thing to say, looking at the entire rosters a bit more individually. Flandre and V, super even almost, just slightly different play styles depending on the champions they get. The mid laners we've already touched on, very passive and want a team fight with their teams. The junglers are aggressive and make it work. The only difference is Swift takes more gold than Beast. And I mean, the bot lane is exactly the same. Like these teams, they've got very good team fighting. They've got very good strategic games early, but at the moment we're seeing Snake pull ahead. Yeah,
I mean, very barely. It's about 2,000 gold ahead, I think, as we still sit in the pause in this particular game for Snake, just based on some smart movement. So again, plenty of room here for QG, as I believe that's TCT. Doesn't look very happy.
I mean, he doesn't have a whole lot of reasons to be happy at the moment. They're paused. I wouldn't really be happy either. I'd rather be playing the game.
I guess so. He's like, come on, man.
But he's given the squinty eyes like someone's being mean to him.
Maybe. Really. Maybe his TNT is making him mad. It's probably Swift, actually. He seems like. No, who would be the guy to make fun of his teammates on QG, do you think?
Probably
I think it might be Doinb, yeah.
I think it's, yeah. It's weird that we both came to that conclusion.
Sitting there needling his teammates.
For no reason, it's Doinb.
I mean, I'm trying to think on Snake, but it's definitely not you. He looks very lovely. Look at him.
I'd say Flandre.
It might be Flandre.
He's just the vocal member of the team, so he'd be the one that... Come on, guys.
And Flandre looks pretty happy, to be honest. A lot of the time, he's having fun. I mean, this is the guy that plays top lane Fizz. Played it last year before it was cool, if you were. And was also the guy to play AD LeBlanc and split push his team to a game win in the LSPL. So Flandre's a fun guy. He likes to mix it up. Played Yasuo and lost and seemed okay with everything that was happening to him, despite how awful the game was for his team.
He doesn't tilt, but that doesn't mean he doesn't troll page through time.
That is true.
There's always the possibility that he's trolling and doesn't even realize it as well.
I mean, we've seen some of Flandre's champion picks and the way he's played certain champions. I would certainly put it to Flandre that he probably knows he's trolling most of the time.
If he was going to play AD LeBlanc and just said, all right, guys, I'm playing LeBlanc AD and locks in, I'd be like, what? Like, what?
He did that.
And then he makes it work.
Yeah.
So you can't really question him. It starts to feel trolly and he makes it work.
I mean, Flandre is also responsible for the Smite Teleport, actually, that he's now rocking in the top lane there on his hack room, but I think started on Shyvana. So, yeah, I'm sure everyone's happy about that one, but that's Flandre. I believe Flandre is mostly responsible for that.
He makes the trends.
He does. I mean, that's actually a funny thing about Snake. They've set a lot of trends as a team. It's so weird to think about a team that, again, just does one thing well, but how they get there has changed pretty dramatically. Is this guy?
Oh, that's adorable.
That is adorable.
He's hiding his face behind the fan.
Karma cosplay from yesterday.
Okay.
Fan mama.
Right. That's an interesting...
Apparently, there was a lot of... the bottom lane was very popular yesterday. The Siva Karma bottom lane that we managed to get a look into.
Oh, well, it was ridiculous.
It was ridiculous. I hope we see more Karma, actually.
I hope we see more Echo.
Yes.
Most importantly.
We didn't see a single Echo ban, by the way, in this game. I just realized.
Oh, that's true.
What is this?
Well, I guess both mid laners here, you and Doinb, aren't going to be breaking the meta with the new champions that come out. It doesn't suit them overly too well. So. It's not someone like Rookie or Dade, I think it was, that
It
just went
was
all out and
Dade.
plays this random new echo that comes out when you're not expecting it.
I mean, Pawn will play it as well. Like, it has to be banned against Pawn.
Yeah, he will just do it.
I mean, he would do it even if he'd never played it. He'd be like, this champion seems sweet. Get me on that.
I saw it win, and it's new. Let's surprise them.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Pawn and Rookie are the sort of players that like to play whichever champion sort of comes to them. They love, again, to be ahead of the curve. But you've got a very solid, very stable roster. I think that's Crystal getting up. I wonder where he's going.
I'm guessing there's
get
something
it.
wrong still, because we can tell a lot of...
Yeah, Crystal's gone. So unless he's planning on playing offstage somehow, I think he'll need to be back in order to play the rest of his game. Good thing, too, he's having a good Draven game, or at least a good start to it.
He's having a very good start. He's cashed in.
See, there's Doinby, by the way, being mean to his teammates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's definitely the troll.
We're going to cut back to TCT again. It's just going to be so sad.
Salt.
He's like, why is Doinby so mean to me?
Salt everywhere.
Guys, help. Salt everywhere. All across the keyboards.
Tears for days.
Tears for days. No, not this
You're
game.
right. I
No
guess
tears the
Crystal
goddess.
has had a very good start so far. He managed to get the split push lane. The 1v2 scenario came out from both sides here, and they both split pushed very hard, both taking down the outer turrets in their respective lanes, top and bottom.
Yeah, I've been impressed that you can keep up with Tristana, actually, because especially with the 4-man push that started from QG, we've seen why people like to pick Triss. She's just solo pushes turrets incredibly quickly.
Yeah, exactly. It's usually the response to someone that can push like the Sivir to just take it down or at least match the split pushing capabilities that can be brought out there, and it scales through super hard because you get that range advantage. You've got the attack speed buff from the Q. Everything just suits super well, but the Draven managing to keep up is a big deal, and more importantly, the fact that he was left to his own devices, juggling 2 axes at all times, getting all of those Draven stacks and cashing it in on a select target here, taking down V. This Draven is going to be made of money at the moment, even placing down his own Draven wards everywhere, which is awesome.
That is awesome. And that's sort of the unique thing about Draven, is that he has such a individually special snowball mechanic that when you do get ahead as Draven, your goal just accelerates quicker and quicker. So if you get ahead on Draven and start to get more ahead, the game eventually just snowballs to a point where you're sitting at 3 items at 25 minutes, and the other AD carry maybe has 2 items completed. And there's just nothing the enemy team can do.
Yeah, and I mean, at this stage, he's already well and truly started that snowball. So the Draven getting that first kill, he's going to have a BF sword at the very least ramped up before Tristan here. TNT is going to be a bit, not behind in items, but Crystal's just going to be ahead in items. Yep. So we'll see how that actually translates into another kill, perhaps. That'll cash in some more stacks on this Draven. And if he manages to stay ahead and transfer that into a massive snowball, then the side of Snake it can easily get on his back.
Yeah. I think the nice thing, though, is that QG do have the first dragon, and they can maybe look to snowball that as well. They sort of recovered from all of the pushing that was happening very well. They actually played a lot of those trades nicely. But if QG can start to snowball the dragon and win some fights from there, that's great. But it might be an issue given that Crystal is getting stronger. So it's his mid laners, honestly, that might have to pull their weight. They've got a lot of free farm. Neither of them have been really ganked or touched. You can see you, again, still breathing out. It's like, yep, we'd like to get back into the game and crush some faces on Azir, but we'll get there eventually.
I would wager that was a sigh of frustration because of the pause duration. You can see his eyebrows raising as he just questions his own existence here in the LPL. Why are we paused?
I mean, to be honest, he's probably pretty happy to be in the LPL. He was a sub for EDG for most of the spring split, so he's back on a starting roster. And we did see him a little bit in the playoffs. We were like, okay, haven't seen you in a while. He was a big star of China in 2014, of course, on the EDG squad. That's now looks very different in 2015. But I think he's happy to be back on a starting roster. His playoffs for EDG looked good when he played before Pawn swooped in miraculously to take the game 5 there against World Elite. And he's been solid so far. If anyone was questioning how does this player that hasn't really shown that much in the spring split been, after the first half of the year, that question has been answered here. He's been absolutely great.
He has been exceptionally great, even coming in first game and just making his mark straight off the bat. Unbelievably strong person. To be stuck in a sub position is not really the ideal goal. So finding himself in that main roster is a big win for him. And we can see that he'd be very happy to be in a main roster in particular now. Doing very well for themselves here as the side of Snake by actually picking him up in particular. This team has developed. It's a very interesting story behind this team, though, is that they started super strong. They kind of dropped off as they didn't really know what they were doing after they found their identity, weirdly enough. And then they come into the next split super strong, but they've got a completely different mid laner, and their top laner and AD carrier just stepped up their game. So not only did they come in strong this time, they came in a lot stronger and we'll see if they can actually translate that through the rest of this split.
You know what? We have a little bit of time, so we can explain how that sort of happened a bit more. So we look at Snake's old mid laner, Baka, fantastic Xerath player, really strong Azir main there as well. But the issue with Baka was always the same. Snake realized after they spent maybe half a split doing one thing and having it work for them because they were so good at doing it, that they would eventually have to diversify in order to get themselves, further up in the ladder and further through the playoffs. And Baka was not a bad player by any stretch of the imagination. He was a fine player in his own right, but his champion will just hurt the teams more often than not.
Yeah.
And everyone else started showing more diversity. I mean, Flandre already had plenty, but when Crystal and Beast are the people kind of leading the team as far as, okay, we need to improve, we need to play more champions, we don't have to change the way they play. Crystal's still hyper-aggressive, and Beast is still a high-pressure jungler, but they just need to alter the champions that they play. And it didn't work that much for Baka, so they brought in you who played, again, similar champions, but had even more to add. And I think for me, more importantly than anything else in this team, you just came in and added experience to a very young team. That was the one thing that Snake were lacking, because you said it already. The only thing they have in this actual split is the first split. That's all their experience so far.
Yeah, they've got a lot more experience to back them with you now, and they're looking like a much more well-rounded and stronger side. They don't exclusively have to do team fighting anymore. They seem to have this strategic advantage from the experience of even just having that first split behind their back has alleviated a lot of that issue, because they've just been much more comfortable in actually enacting a lot more strategic play. Their team fighting's still very, very adequate and very strong, but now they have more options. It's almost similar to what Vici did. They had Vasily, and Hotong was very limited with his champion pool, but they didn't actually need to replace Hotong. He just diversified completely through the break. He's come back and can play a million other things.
Yeah, we've actually popped back into the game finally. Pause appears to be over, and Snake actually going to claim themselves the next dragon. So QG losing that as well, and Snake 2,000 gold ahead, equalizing a dragon, and now 4 men strong and a shove out in the mid lane.
Feels nice to be back in League of Legends after that break. We can finally talk about relevant things.
That was a long break.
That was a pretty long break.
Yeah, that was like a Game of Thrones season, the whole season there in that break.
It was build up, but then we came back at 11 minutes.
It is.
And all of the important characters have died.
That's not good. Swift now in trouble. Beast coming through, trying to take away the Raptor here. We're going to have a bit of a battle, maybe. Beast going to get it, though. Still counter-jungling well.
Beast winning that battle, getting the Raptor, and still having the pressure here in the mid lane. It was a small victory, of course, getting that, but a big victory for them is that they've got the minion stack and they've got the control of this mid lane. TCT presenting an issue of potentially engaging, and they're trying their best to keep him back so they can push the tower down. What?
Yep, US to take the Lantern out. Actually, Doinby threatening on the LeBlanc, and a good defense there from QG means that Snake, with, I would say, fairly poor siege, actually can't break that turret.
Yeah, it's not that they have extremely poor siege. They've still got the 2 ranged heroes, and Azir is very good at taking down towers. But you're looking at a side here that has an Alistar. They've got the Rek'Sai who can flank and just straight engage, and they've got a LeBlanc who's very good at anti-siege because of the damage she can put down. If you're hitting a turret and you're not hitting the LeBlanc, she's definitely hitting you.
Yep, and you're going to take all that burst and have to back away as V trying to freeze things up in the top side of the map. Will collect a bit more farm, although Flandre getting further and further ahead. Home guard completed, and almost that Cinderhawk enchantment done there as well. We look down to the bottom side. It is the BF sword for Crystal, so Infinity Edge potentially going to be his first pickup here. We just had the Vamp Scepter for a bit of early lifesteal.
Yeah, the Vamp Scepter was a very early buy to have the assumption that he was looking to sustain through lane against a particular opponent, which basically never existed because V spent a lot of his time not actually being in the lane. Now he's working towards having that BF sword. It's going to be the Infinity Edge, and once Draven ramps up with that, that's going to be a very big prospect for engaging, because you can see the Avarice Blade here coming out from TNT, delaying a big item as Flandre wants this.
He gets it too.
Doesn't just want it.
Yeah, claims it away from TNT. Flandre's level 10 now as he's even started counter-jungling QG. I mean, this Hecarim's been an absolute menace. 100 CS in almost 14 minutes in a lane swap situation means that Flandre has won so much out in this early game.
Yeah, this is a situation where, as we mentioned prior, every member from Snake is doing exceptionally well. The only one that isn't ahead but is still breaking even is the mid lane. Azir's always going to scale very well. So you're looking at a side now that has a Draven and is 40 CS ahead of his opponent. You've got the Hecarim, and he is 30 CS ahead and levels ahead and able to counter jungle and deny any extra farm that Tristana wanted. This Snake side cementing the lead that they already have, trying to translate that into objective control, which will come through the jungle vision control they have. You can tell by the fact that they're already counter jungling. And it's going to be difficult for QG to actually continue laning phase without having to try and team fight and give themselves some kind of a lead.
Oh my god, this Gromp is not long for this world, as Beast actually is going to get it. Crystal just catching some axes actually, which is always nice to stack the adoration back up. Very worth it, as you even been pressuring Doinby, who's been trying to answer back. But Snake, I love what they're doing on this bottom half of the map here. Just pushing out the mid lane, pushing out the bottom side, getting vision into the jungle, and Flandre, he's ready to threaten with the teleport as well, as the Scuttle Crab's going to go down.
Yeah, basically just controlling everything. The Gromps, the Krugs, even the Scuttle Crabs going down to Snake, slowly and surely controlling the entirety of the map, or the parts that they can control, working towards those inner turrets. They've only got the one outer turret remaining here in the mid lane, so that's most likely going to be their plan of attack. Given that everyone is starting to recall at the moment though, Draven just keeping those adoration stacks as high as possible to look for the next kill.
Yep, and I think that Snake are just waiting on a couple of item timings here. We've sort of waited a couple minutes of farming just between the next dragons, but number 2 for either team will be up in a minute 40, and I have to think that Crystal will have the Infinity Edge done by the time that fight rolls around. So strong items going to be there. Doinby should be back with his Morellonomicon by the looks of things, but Athene's has already been completed there for you. And even Flandre probably finishing his Cinderhawk, maybe even a bit of other items coming through there as well. But he's level 11 so far, still 2 levels up on V.
Infinity Edge. That's a Bloodthirster completely finished now. So the Vamp Scepter first buy. It's not a surprise, of course. We should have expected this over the Infinity Edge. He's going for that Bloodthirster, getting the Overshield, and it allows him to start fighting a lot sooner and trade with people very competently, and consistently is the key word.
Yep.
His sustain is going to be massive, whereas the Tristana, if they trade and they don't all in with Crystal, he can stay there, whereas Tristana needs to leave.
Yeah, I was expecting it actually, but Crystal had me fooled there with those components, but we'll simply turn that pickaxe into a Last Whisper. So just wanted more damage, as you and Ella going to fight Doinby here as they go in, but just a bit of damage traded back and forth. That shield for Azir with the knock-up doing a lot of work, as Beast even going to come into the lane now.
Yeah, everyone's starting to gravitate around this mid lane. In fact, they have been for quite a while, and the pressure only really translating in favor of QG, pushing them under the turrets, trying to get some control back themselves. The problem is, no one can contest the Draven right now. He's able to freely split push, because if anyone comes near him, he's going to have the double axes. He can easily outtrade anybody. TNT knows that and has been sitting mid. And this is a big issue for the QG side, as the Doinby and TNT sitting in the same lane, trying to share CS and experience, essentially sharing gold. Not a good position to be.
No, I mean, you can see just by the CS difference between Trist and Draven, about 50 as TNT is going to try and clear this wave out. But Snake just want to make space for the Dragon, and QG, too many waves pushed in. Flandre threatening with his teleport, and Snake going to easily pick up Dragon number 2.
Yeah, it's so easy for them to maintain control at the moment around the Dragon area. They just have the advantage almost wholeheartedly with items at the moment that it's so scary for this QG lineup to get near them. And it's just very difficult for them to look to fight right now. They need a big item finished for the Gnar. You can see he's going for that Randuin's first, looking to stack that armor, wanting to team fight, foregoing the potential for perhaps a Phage, looking to just stack it up. The Zhonya's is the next buy here for Doinby. They're looking to accelerate their builds as quickly as they can, but it's going to take a while, because look at the level difference even in the top lane.
Yeah, Flandre has just taken over this game at this spot, and he honestly hasn't even really been threatening anyone. He's just been split pushing the top lane.
Jungling, yeah.
Yeah, he's been jungling. He's 160 CS at 18 minutes. In a lane swap. I can't overemphasize that fact. Flandre has done all of this CSing, and he's a great last hitter, despite all of the early fast pushing and level 1 action.
Yeah, in other words, you take out about the first 4 to 5 minutes and just pretend it didn't exist.
Yep.
So right now he's essentially ahead of his split pushing clock in terms of what his farm should be. Left completely to his own devices and freely getting all of this farm. It's ridiculous how big that he is, even with just levels, regardless of the CS. And then you have a look at what his build is very nearly as well. He's got the completed Cinderhulk working on that Frozen Heart that is almost available also. This Hecarim, once he finishes that, can dive anyone.
Yeah, I mean, TNT, not long for this world. He was already struggling.
Yeah.
Level 9 here with a bit of CS. As you going to dive in onto Doinby. Ella coming through as well. Lines up the hook. Doinby's forced to flash out from under it. And Snake might finally get themselves the outer mid turret.
They get the pressure that was required. Doinby doing his best to keep some kind of damage down to stop Snake, or to stop you from controlling the mid lane and being able to rotate. Eventually, all it takes is one extra person to show their face when Doinby gets aggressive, forces the flash out, makes him flank from the side. They get the turret.
Yeah, they get the sun turret there. So
that's 100 gold back. Why
it
not?
is. Hey, it's
Good
definitely worth it. Good trade. As Snake move in to try and take the red buff. I believe Beast will be able to finish that one up as well as Flandre. I think, yeah, he smited the grunt buff there as well with the Barmy Cinder. He is untouchable at this stage on the top side, and Snaker now moving in towards him. We're going to try and take out another tier 2 turret.
Legitimately
first,
untouchable.
sorry. Yeah.
Like, completely legitimately not possible to be touched at the moment.
TCT, they're going to get grabbed. He's very touchable. Ella going to pop his ulti. That's going to force TCT to pop his. Elsa forced to get up. Will flash over the wall while Flandre's joining in. Goes back down. Ulti's in. He really wants this kill onto Alistar. But it's not enough there. The ulti was still ticking away. Swift, though, will be forced to flash out. Doinby dives back in, but almost pays for it with his life. And that Draven just does far too much damage.
Everyone on the Snake lineup at the moment doing way too much damage. The level advantages, the item advantages, the fact that they've utilized map movements to keep QG on the back foot. This whole game is on the back of Snake at the moment, just being so smart with the way that they're playing. Their draft is coming out very strong as well.
Yeah, their gold lead now props up to 5,000 gold, but it feels like they're much further ahead than that in this game. Baron is available, so we can start thinking about that in maybe the next 5 minutes, but Crystal is massively accelerated, going for his patented Bloodthirster Last Whisper build. And we've seen Trinity Force normally from this point. Be curious to see where he goes next, but he's insanely strong. Yu's building up strength there as well. And Flandre, I don't even want to talk about Flandre. He's only going to get bigger from this point. He's already massive.
He's disgusting. They're going to be able to get this turret most likely. I don't think he can 1v4 because he didn't have the ultimate available, but the Frozen Heart finished as well. Home guarded boots, armor boots, and working on a Null Magic Mantle towards the Spirit Visage or a Banshee's Veil most likely. This guy is a freak.
Oh,
right
Doinby going to get grabbed up now as well. He's forced to get out though. Ella actually now going to be in trouble. Emperor's Divide will keep him safe. TNT gets bounced around. Beast gets the blue buff as Doinby tries to bounce in there and take it. V now a little too far forward. It's going to transform into Mega now, but he's going to get chunked out and he's forced away as he finishes the transformation. And another trade there, but Snake keep QG out of their jungle.
QG trying to make something happen. TNT actually trying to flash over the Emperor's Divide to get the reset kill onto Ella, but flashing into the wall and just being knocked straight back. A little bit of a mistake there from TNT. And they're trying. You have to admit they are trying their best to get their eye into this game and just make something happen for them. But the difference at the moment, 22 minutes in, the gold lead, irrespective of that gold lead, it just feels like everyone is just so far ahead on Snake's lineup. They can just put down the pain at the moment. And look at the top lane in particular.
That's so gross.
Like the mid lane's just been casually farming. It's close to even. Draven's got one Adoration stack reset, so he is a very, very far gold amount ahead.
Yeah.
That's pretty gross.
Miles ahead at this stage. Almost 2k there as well. And I only just checked the scoreboard there and realized that you said it already. Snake, it's just been smart movements and objectives and strategic play, which is not what we always associate with Snake. But they have 5,000 gold ahead, possibly more just based on their general levels. And there's been actually one kill in this game.
Well, that's almost entirely what it is. It's the experience advantage, the level advantage, the fact that they're going to hit their bigger ultimates sooner. And just that the money is on two particular targets that you did not want it on, Draven and Hecarim, starting to ramp up and scale massively. The later this game goes, the more damage that they're going to be doing, or the more unkillable that they're going to be. So you've got the front line of Flandre well and truly set in stone. You've got the backline raw damage output of Crystal on Draven.
I mean, and the rotations have been so clever from Snake as well. Again, pressuring some turrets to open up space around the dragon. They'll actually get that one as QG are a little late to respond. And Doinby going to get chunked out. Goes down to you and Flandre, who's sandwiching in between the wolf camps in his own jungle. TNT may have found you, but Beast is in the area also.
I think you found them.
Yep. And TNT already just doesn't want to deal with the Azir.
There's just no answer from QG right now. This is the hard part about this game, is you're looking at a slow closeout from Snake, and everything that QG have tried to do thus far has not been a full 5 team fight. They've tried to catch people out of position and translate it into an easy kill. But look at that.
Well, Beast going in. TNT's dead already to Crystal. Hook lands onto TCTV. Going to get ulted up by Flandre. No, that was actually just an evac. Flandre didn't have his ultimate, but Snake get the picks they want and take the turret.
And it was just as easy as just pressing the go button, having Beast use that body slam, turn it around with easy kills. Crystal actually getting that. Cashing in way too many Adoration stacks here. This Draven like he wasn't big enough already, is now a monster.
Yeah, he has 2 of the 3 kills that have happened in this game.
So many kills.
And he's gotten so much gold from them. That's the other unique thing about Draven. That dragon melted there by the damage from Snake as they'll claim their 3rd. And QG find themselves in a massive hole. This game has 3 kills in it, and Snake are almost 10,000 gold ahead.
It's disgusting. He's actually finished a Trinity Force at 24 minutes. He's got
Wow.
4 completed items if we include boots at the moment.
This is what I said.
What is this Draven?
This is what I said about Draven. When you start snowballing those kills, you build up your adoration, you cash in the money, and it's all of a sudden you're sitting at 25 minutes, you've snowballed the game, and you have 3 items, and the enemy AD carry is like, I don't have 2.
Is there any way for us to check how much he's actually cashed in with those stacks? Because that would just be a gross amount.
It would be a lot. I don't know exactly how to check in on that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Oh, exactly that much, hey?
I don't think it says in the passive, unfortunately.
I have no idea.
Just Crystal.
That's the wrong part.
We can already tell just from the items, he's got an absolute mountain of gold here in this game. Not to mention the CS lead he's built up there as well. I mean, you also has a Rabadon's just as far as 2 item spikes go. He's not doing too badly either. But it's definitely been the Hecarim and Draven for me. And Flandre just been casually split pushing all game long. He's almost 100 CS ahead of V.
Yeah, it's not a big deal or anything, just casual 100. The side of Snake right now is entirely on the back of those 2 members that you just mentioned. You still doing a lot of damage and being extremely relevant in what he's doing in these fights. But, I mean, he just sat mid and farmed while the rest of his team found themselves with a 5k gold lead from smart rotational play. They traded turret for turret. It was 2 for 2, tit for tat from start of this game. And out of nowhere, the Draven finds 1 kill onto the Gnar, who was completely starved, and Yu doesn't even really care that the Baron's hitting him.
I like that you started Baron. Crystal, though, is going to come in. He does a significant amount of Baron damage. Teleport comes in, though. Flandre around the back trying to buy some time. V's in Mega Gnar form. Flandre might have been caught out of position. Ulti's onto TNT, though. Goes through them all. V now going to be the next target as he gnaws Yu into the wall. Doinby trying to get a pick, but the barriers pop from Azir. TCT, maybe the next target is Yu, being chased down there by Doinby off screen. And Flandre still alive somehow as a Gragas ulti almost kills Alistar. Flandre will make sure he actually kills him. And that's Flandre with only tank items almost killing everyone by himself.
He is just unkillable at the moment. That slowly but surely he's going to whittle down your health himself at this stage of the game. Doinby, I would probably not even do that because he's got a Bloodthirster and gets 150 health back. Every single auto attack empowered by his Q. You cannot trade with him at all.
No, you can't. And I mean, we've talked about the Draven. 201, 260 CS at 27 minutes in. Good stats for any AD carry, but Draven just makes that even more special. The fact that he has a Trinity Force of all items at the most expensive item in the game, just casually hanging out with 3 items at 25 minutes.
And the fact that he's 100 CS ahead and has been casually sitting in solo lanes, accruing all of the adoration stacks himself before even getting a second kill. Such a low kill game, but the fact that he's got 2 of those 3, and both of them have been massive cash-ins, this Draven is unbelievably large, and you cannot even compare him to anyone else besides maybe Flandre, who is just unkillable.
I mean, Flandre's done a very similar thing, though. He's just sat in the solo lanes, getting that farm, keeping the wave control. I mean, if you watch Flandre this whole game, I can guarantee that he would be doing everything he could to eke out every little edge in that top lane or whatever lane he was in and just deny V for as long as possible. And it's just kept this Gnar that, again, is the soft counter matchup into Hecarim. And we've seen V. He's a great player and a great laner. He's usually the guy that gets massively far ahead and really brings his team up when he needs it. But Flandre's just completely outclassed him here in this game. And this is what we expect from a player the likes of Flandre, who was so well touted as this massive top laner. Again, finally coming into his own as a true carry for the team.
It's interesting that you define it as outclassed, though, because I feel like the biggest problem from this game, it stemmed from the actual 1v2 start of it, the beginning of the game. So outclassed is more of a team-based assumption here than not a solo 1v1. V has done everything he can to get himself back into this game, but he's so far out of it, so far gone, that there was no real way for him to even trade with someone 3 levels ahead of him and a fair amount of CS. He managed to get within 10 CS at one stage and then completely blew out of the water again.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the power of the Smite Hecarim. It's why they don't go for the Trinity Force first. They go for the massive assassination builds. You just slowly accumulate a massive lead, and all of a sudden you're sitting now 27 minutes in, 3 tank items with a Ruby Crystal building towards your Phage, eventually going for that Trinity Force, and you just become unstoppable. As Flandre, he just doesn't care. He's 1v2, walked into the enemy jungle looking for a fight.
looking for anything he can find at the moment. No regard for enemy people. They're basically just cannon minions.
Yep.
To his unstoppableness.
More gold beam to collect in the jungle as
farming.
Snake are going to move in towards the Baron Pit. V does not have his teleport as well, so this is a dangerous spot for QG to be in.
Flandre just doesn't care at all.
He's so tanky at this stage. And Beast going to look for a pick onto TCT. Not a bad one there. Gragas ulti hits. Crystal gets the kill. Doinby jukes in as Yu pops his ulti trying to keep LeBlanc out. But Snake, they only needed one kill, and that's what they get.
They find themselves with a kill. It's now 5-0 as Flandre is probably going to not consider chasing this to the end of the earth. Just zone him away and then start to push in that top
I'm not
lane.
convinced Flandre is currently taking damage.
I think he's actually gaining health.
He might be. That Spirit Visage doing work here as Doinby can't finish the pink ward. Flandre is going to chase him down, and Doinby's like, yeah, I definitely don't want to be in this area.
I take it back. He's chasing him to the end of the earth.
Yep, I mean, Doinby's buying some time, but the rest of Snake's pushing.
His best Liam Neeson impersonation here.
Going to keep running in, but Doinby will be able to get out as QG defend. 4-man strong on the top side. TNT, though, he's ignited, gets low, falls to LRV, gets hooked up there as well. They're going to jump in as Flandre's ported right onto the tower, and that's all the kills Snake need as Flandre ults in. TTT pops his up at Beast, and the rest of Snake will dive with relentless aggression. The ulti's still going, but he's already dead through it. And Doinby's going to come in to try and clean up. He pops his Zhonya's. Flandre's still alive. Doinby's going to get the kill, but he's going to fall as well. And Snake completely ace and break the base.
Actually wasting his Zhonya's there because the hook was not going to hit. Instead, he actually kills himself in the process of using that Zhonya's. The side of Snake, again, we've touched on this multiple times. They're just so far ahead. It doesn't matter if they don't have the Azir ultimate. It doesn't matter if the Draven ultimate doesn't even hit anybody. They can still just parade their way through the base of QG, take the turrets, tank the turrets, get the inhibitors, and end up with only giving away one kill after all of that.
Yeah, they're almost 14,000 gold ahead there as well.
The red buff is a ghost, by the way.
The red buff is having some troubles.
In case you were aware.
It is having some problems as Swift.
They're having some feuds between each other at the moment.
I mean,
Swift and the red buff are not
Swift
fans.
and his jungle are not cooperating today. He clearly did not. He did not settle down and buy a drink or
look at it. It's
sure
leading the way. Lead the charge, red buff. You're the real hero.
Flandre level 16 now, building up towards that Trinity Force. I don't think he's going to finish it before this game's going to end. See Crystal walking in, going to take the Scuttle Crab there. Looking to maybe clear out the ward in the back, but going to get what vision they can. Crystal and Ella are here. The Talisman pop there. Crystal, yep, throws an auto.
Wow.
Chunks out Swift. And then retreats to safety. I mean, QG are trying to act aggressive here. Flandre actually doesn't have his teleport, but QG just can't entertain any sort of defense.
Swift and his red buff have finally made friends again.
That's
they
good.
shook hands and they're all good. So they're together again, but there's no real way that even if they're together, they're actually able to push into the side of Snake. One auto attack from Crystal completely made him rethink his life goals right now. As Doinby
gets caught by Beast in a body slam. TCT actually chunked out there. Beast just diving in. He's fairly tanky himself, but
they're all out of position
takes
right
the
now.
lantern out. Yeah, and the Crystal going to take full advantage. TNT eats one axe and loses almost his entire health bar. And Snake going to break the base once more. Mid inhibitor turret is dead.
Straight away taking it down like it is nothing to them right now. The gold leads so far ahead at 30 minutes, 14,000, almost 15. And that's without even having a big team fight just yet. They're only really smaller skirmishes.
There's never been a big team fight, and they're not going to get it. V maybe going to try something here. Empress Divide keeps them out, though. Yu gets the first kill. Ella is low, but everyone else from QG has to flash out. Flandre chases in with the ulti, gets Alistar, maybe going to clean out Doinby as he takes out Rek'Sai as well. The fourth kill will be TNT as Crystal cashes in for the final time this game, and Snake run all over QG, who only managed to squeeze out one kill in this game, and Swift, he better reconcile things with his red buff as they're going to look for the ace. Do get it for the final cash-in. And Snake, complete control from start to finish.
From the very beginning of this game, since they put the lane swap into effect, this Snake lineup looked extremely impressive and extremely strong. Managing to control the rotations against what is a very strong rotational side here of QG. They close out a convincing game after what was unfortunately a lot of pauses for a big stomp.
It was. I mean, the game maybe took a little longer than everyone would have liked, but Snake, 30-minute game, I think it ended just under the 30-minute mark, and Snake never looked like ceding any